everyone. Welcome to the SSN TV stage at ISC West 2018. I am here with Andrew Lanning. He is a co-founder of Integrated Security Technologies. Andrew, it's great to have you.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Unfortunately, we weren't able to get your wife, also co-founder Christine Lanning here.
Oh yeah, no, you didn't really want me. I think I got voluntold to show up. Yeah, Christine's off. She was here yesterday, but she's part of the Military Affairs Council in Hawaii, which is a group that they don't necessarily lobby, but they keep track of the legislature on Capitol Hill and what's going on, what's funding for the DoD security needs in Hawaii and other projects that they need. So that group has a junket that they make called Hawaii on the Hill, and they're up there now. So she flew out of here last night. Up there, we'll see what what are the needs, what do they envision for funding, what kind of projects in Hawaii over the next few years. So she gets good visibility on that, so that we can help and be a part of that solution out there. The DoD's a big, a large piece of the economy in the state of Hawaii. So there's a really tight bond between the commercial community, the business community. The Chamber of Commerce actually manages the Military Affairs Council. So that's a great partnership that we have with the DoD out there. And so she manages that for us, and I do this stuff.
Yeah, so both of you are very busy. Wow.
Yeah.
You guys get around. So I know you're heavily involved in sessions here. I sat in on a great session that you did. But can you talk a little bit about some of the sessions that you're running and working on and at the show here?
Sure. We had a session. My last session yesterday was really kind of about taking a look at some of the protocols that we've maybe been ignoring as an industry, all these years, and how those protocols are used. Just something as simple as SNMP, simple network management protocol. We have these devices, cameras and card readers and intrusion panels and all the network connected devices that we have in our industry. Some are built better than others, but by and large, those processors and that software and that firmware has what's called a machine information base of information that should come out via SNMP.
Yeah.
And if it's built properly, if it's coded properly, that information can really give you some insight into how that equipment's functioning. So from a cyber perspective, if it were hijacked or taken over or started broadcasting a DDoS attack or something like that, you would see that change in the functional parameters of that device. So it gives us a way to kind of look at that. There are many of these other protocols that we sort of haven't paid attention to well enough, and they're part of the standard for how you're supposed to do computing and how you're supposed to do IT.
Yeah.
So the room was really crowded, so I was happy to see that, because I thought maybe when you mention protocols, some people might, our industry folks aren't necessarily deeply IT savvy, all of them, and the room was full of integrators. We typically like to ask who's there.
Right.
And there was I think quite a bit of interest. A presentation was from Rodney Thayer, who's a sort of an industry fan, an industry helper, an industry integrator. He really consults heavily with manufacturers and integrators. Deep IT knowledge. I think he wrote some of those RFCs. I mean, he's been around IT for 30, 40 years now. And then Thomas was there to add. He published a book. I think it was 2017's As Is Security Book of the Year.
Right,
so we had these great guys sharing their perspectives, and I think fairly well received. We kept it at a level that I think was resonant with the audience. Several people attacked them right after, came up wanting cards, wanting further information. So I thought that was good stuff. Earlier in the day, I did one that PSA started. This has been, I think it's about 3 years old now, actually, where we created a Tier 0 document for cybersecurity for our integrators. Yeah, and I think Bill wanted to rehash that a little bit. It isn't like everyone's been on board since the 3 years ago that we started, and so we brought that document out and we sort of talked to that base group, and that was a group. I think there were 80 or 100 in the room. I was really surprised at the response.
That's awesome.
Because from my perspective, like, oh, Tier 0, wow, we wrote that a few years ago, and it still applies. If you don't know how to start, that's a great start.
I think you guys are a little bit ahead of the curve, which is good. People are just a little slower to adopt. some of these ideas and now that they have to, I think they're starting to come aboard.
Yeah, it could be that. We asked it. Had any been familiar with it? No one raised their hand. So hopefully, the sharing of this information is how we're going to get better in our cyber hygiene, in our cyber maturity, in our cybersecurity practices. And that document, if that gets some folks started, great. I think that we asked 20 questions in there, and if you answered yes to the question, we had some things you could do for next steps.
Oh, that's cool.
And if you answered no, there were some things you could do for first steps.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
And that idea of, because no one's perfect, and once you're perfect, you still got to work on your people, right? There's the people problem of cybersecurity that is a hole we're never really going to fill. It's a persistent training type of thing.
And threats are always evolving, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, new ones coming down the pike.
Sure.
Staying on the topic of cyber, I know you're the head of the committee of Cyber Committee for PSA,
I've
right?
chaired that for the last few years. I'm hoping to hand off the reins next year, probably. If I can talk Gary Hoffner, he's my vice chair into it. I think he's ready to take this on. He's working hard on cyber and building his understanding and adding those practices to his integration business as well. So I think he'll be a good candidate. I don't know. I'll try to talk him into it next year. I think I've got until after PSA Tech next year.
And
so that'll be good.
Right, and we have this great conference, the first annual Cybersecurity conference coming up.
I'm gratified that what we started, and it was Bill Bozeman's vision. He said, Andrew, we need to talk about this.
Yeah.
And this was I think in 2015. Yeah, I think 2015 we did the first cybersecurity. I forget what we called it, but that was the first time we came together as an industry and started to have this discussion about what we needed to do. And we were just scared,
Right.
bright-eyed, oh my gosh, we're a mess. What are we going to do? How are we going to fix things?
Yeah.
And obviously since then we've progressed quite a way. So we're no longer in fear. Now it's just about spreading the word of we know what to do, we know how to get better. Let's go to work on it.
Yeah.
And it is a kind of a thankless journey, you might say, other than if you can appreciate that your cyber maturity is improving, because it's something no one really sees, but you can measure yourself. You get your policies written, you get them implemented, you get everyone on board that they understand, all your employees sign for them. Then you have these controls implemented, so there's some that you can monitor more often than others. There's some that you can automate, and then you obviously are getting reports weekly, monthly, quarterly, depending on what your risk appetite is based on that particular control set. And it's a slog. When people first start, I think it looks overwhelming, but as you start to work into it, which is what we had to do, you ultimately find that you have a grasp on your internal cybersecurity conditions. And once you know what's missing, you know what to focus on. Typically no one's funded or has the resources to just fix all the technology stuff right away.
Right.
And if you do, God bless you, I'm happy for you. But even then, you've got to work on the people. So there's people, processes, and products. That three-legged stool is it's a constant, kind of a constant concern. I think it should be.
And the conference, it's in June in Denver, is that right?
Yeah, I think first week of June. We're out there the second or third and fourth, something like that. Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah. So I'm excited for that conference. All right. Well, great. Thank you, Andrew. It's always great to speak with you, and have a great show the rest of the way. And hopefully you get a chance to get back to Hawaii and rest a little bit.
Hey, thanks so much. Mahalo, everybody.